we are in the moon wane, or the dark moon period, and that's what we're talking about, that part of the lunar cycle. And, you know, once again, we're now on the countercultural side of the lunar cycle, right? This is like the not pushing forward, the not being aggressive, the not leading with the ego and the thinking mind, the not believing that you actually know best and the rest of the world like doesn't, right? This is actually about surrender, releasing, making contact with something larger than yourself. And especially in our work here tonight, it is so much about nourishing ourselves, taking a second to stop. And again, these are countercultural ideas. But I've been working with the lunar cycle for, 12 years or whatever, and this works. This is one of those things where, we are told by our society that if we keep pushing forward, if we keep at it, if we stay focused, if we do, hustle, we'll get to where we want to be faster. And the dark moon says, actually, sometimes you create resistance with all that pushing. Sometimes you create resistance with all that control. And by thinking that you actually know best, better than, all that is. Okay, so this is time to surrender, to give up, to lay down, to abandon the ego, to release control, to retreat, to rest, recharging. And an idea that is paradoxical, or doesn't seem like it makes sense, but is magically true from my heart to yours, is that when we take a teeny tiny little bit of time to give up, we actually get where we're going faster, because our thinking mind thinks it's in charge of everything. But we all know, even logically, there are many, many, many things happening inside even our body that we're not in charge of, right? And there's many, many things that could happen that to influence our lives and events in our lives that we can't even see. And our thinking mind sort of keeps blinders on. So the dark moon is a time to sort of go, all right, I'm not going to try. This is one day to not be a tryhard. Go ahead, and I'm a tryhard, very often. But this is a little slice of time to not be that, and to sort of step out of the way and be like, let's let some magic happen instead of let's make magic happen. So the dark moon, or moon wane, which is a very poetic way to put it, is a time to get out of the way and acknowledge that we're just one little tiny human being, and pushing forward constantly 100% of the time can actually create a lot of resistance for us. And in the moon wane, or dark moon phase, our thinking mind might be off. Our thinking mind may have started to move in the direction that is aligned with certain suppositions that actually are not correct. And so we give ourselves this little break. In the olden days of the late 90s, we used to do something to PCs. We would defrag our computer. And you would run a defrag, and it would take all the little bits while the computer had been working that had put here and here and here and here, and it had defragmented them. It put them all back in the right place. So I look at this teeny tiny little dark moon window as a time to defrag ourselves. And so that any off or incorrect, what do they call it? Errors in thinking can be released. And then at the new moon, we can really look around re-energized and see what we want to do. We rarely are given, or rarely do we give ourselves the opportunity to just be. However it is. And I understand that we can't go through our whole lives just being like, whatever, that's how it is. I throw up my hands. But I do think there's a lot of value in doing that every once in a while, maybe once every 28 days in the lunar cycle. That seems like a nice rhythm to that. So yeah, I think we all have the vibe of the dark moon.